Week number 2 of the college football season is here, and guys, listen, I'm going to tell you something that I've told you, whether it's week number 1, week number 2, or week number 10. Generally in college football, it's been my experience to find that the marquee games are the most difficult to bet, and yet the gambling public gravitates towards those games because they know a little something about one or both of the teams. Personally, I stay away from games like Notre Dame, Michigan, or Michigan State, Oregon. Not that I won't be watching them on TV, but from a gambling standpoint, I stay away from those games because I've always believed that you concentrate the most where the odds makers concentrate the least. These marquee games, they always have the sharpest lines, right? But there's so many games on a college card. Why not look, perhaps, at that Mountain West team, or that team like, UL Monroe that might be playing, or maybe it's Navy or Army, more of your obscure teams. That's where you're going to find the value on a Saturday card. Now, you can't concentrate the most where the odds makers concentrate the least on an NFL card because every game is like a Super Bowl being played, and there's a limited, finite number of games. But on college football and college basketball as well, it's different. So generally, as I said, I always take a look at those marquee games, and with most rare exceptions, I just skip them and watch them as a fan instead. Now, as for me personally, yesterday I was going for a 6th straight winning day, and I mean, it had been an incredible run. I'm looking at the Washington Nationals on the run line last night. They're up 5-0. I got Steven Strasburg on the hill. They're up 7-2, and eventually they're going into the 9th inning. They have their closer out there, Rafael Soriano. Boom! Serves up a 2-run homer to a light-hitting catcher, Carlos Ruiz. Number 6 homer on the season, right? That suddenly cuts my run line win in half, and now it's a 1-run game. And then he serves up a home run to Ben Revere. When you say Ben Revere, you say light-hitting Ben Revere. His 2nd career homer to tie the game. Nationals eventually go into extra innings and lose. And that's why I always say, guys, there are no guarantees in gambling. Look it up in the dictionary. Any one you choose. Gambling and guarantee, not on the same page of the dictionary. But I can't really complain too much. I mean, your bottom line, I've won 12 of the past 16 days. I'm on a 6-2 football run the past 3 weeks. Hit 3 out of 4 in college football last weekend, scoring with, for example, UL Monroe on the opening night of the college campaign last Thursday, coming back with a winner on Auburn last Saturday, giving you Baylor, a 33-point favorite on Sunday. And I've got another college football release just as strong as those 3 winners going today for my personal best bet. Another guy you should be aware of today is Scott Delaney. Scott Delaney, 100 dime max wager releases. He opened up the season with an easy winner. He was on UL Monroe over Wake Forest on Thursday, 2 weeks ago. Last Friday, he had Western Kentucky, a 7-point dog, outright over Bowling Green, 59-31 on the road. These 100 dime max wager releases, 66, 37, and 1 run over the past 4 years in all sports combined, and he is the better than half price play of the day released today. All the details on that one, plus Gabriel Dupont, who is the 777 triple play, all available on the homepage, so check it out. This, of course, being Saturday, you know the deal, guys. Each and every Saturday, I give you a money-saving discount coupon code that could potentially save you hundreds of dollars off your discount or your total purchase price, and today is no different. That discount coupon code is 22%. That's 22PERCENT, 22PERCENT, no space between the number or the word, and that will save you 22% off your total purchase price. Listen, guys, this is a great coupon because it's a mix-and-match coupon. It can be used for any combination of handicappers, their plays, or their packages. Any combination. You save 22% off your total purchase price. I give a coupon like this every single Saturday for the past 3 years because, as I've told you repeatedly, over 80% of the customers here at this site are wrapped up in long-term packages of at least one handicapper on the site. So this allows them to always know they can maximize their savings by looking for that coupon on Saturday. Because here's how it works. Let's say you're in the middle of a long-term package with a particular handicapper, and let's say that handicapper, you had a 30-day package originally, you may have 8 days left. Well, you can re-up and get another 30 days, which would then extend your package out to 38 days, right? It does it automatically. You would get your 22% off, and if you had any instant rebates applicable, they would work as well to maximize your savings even more. So it's 22%. The only stipulation is this is a one-time usage coupon today. So what that means is you can't come in and get Scott Delaney's big play and then come in and get Craig Davis's 50-dime triple header 3 hours later. No, you've got to put everything in your shopping cart at one time. Then you use that coupon code and it takes 22% off your total purchase price. As usual, should you ever have any questions regarding any of the coupons here at the site, just contact customer service. That's what they are here for. Now, let's get to your free selections. I've got 3 of them here on today's card. First one is a 3 o'clock Eastern time kickoff. I'm going to ride Utah minus the 13 points at home against Fresno State. Now, of course, the Utes opened up last week 56-14 in a rout of Idaho State. Fresno, it was a little different story. Fresno got their asses kicked at Southern Cal. 53-13 or 52-13. Could have been 152-13. It really didn't matter. As Fresno was finding out, gee, we're not as good of a team when we don't have Derek Carr at quarterback. You know, guys? For Utah, the big news in their win last week was the return to action of quarterback Travis Wilson. In one half of play, 13 for 18 for 265 yards, but then again, it was Idaho State, okay? But this Fresno State secondary, they were scorched for 424 yards and 4 touchdown passes by USC. Now, Fresno, 4-10-1 against the spread in their last 15 line games. Utah, meanwhile, has covered 6 consecutive games outside of the Pac-12. I'm not saying Utah is as good as Southern Cal, but Utah is playing at home. There is no Derek Carr. Carr's replacements last week, Brian Burrell and Brandon Connett. Connett, I think, was a Duke transfer, and Burrell, a seldom-used player for the Bulldogs. I mean, they combined last week to go 18 for 36 for 160 yards and 4 interceptions against USC. And now they're on the road for a second consecutive week. Their head coach, Tim, can't remember his name. What is it, DeRuyters, I think is his last name. That was the worst regular season loss they have suffered in the 3 years he's been at the Fresno State helm. That's not the way to open the season mentally, for a college football team. And now you're going and playing on the road for a second straight week against a Pac-12 foe, and you're playing in elevation as well. That's got to be tiring, especially when the temperatures are a little warmer early in September. So I say go with Utah. Lay the 13 to 13.5 points, and that's your first free selection. Your next game goes at 3:30 Eastern time. It's Kentucky at home, taking on Ohio. Now, the Wildcats, 59-14 over UT Martin, a Division I AA school, we call them now FCS schools. God forbid if I get that wrong. 656 total yards in that contest, 224 yards on the ground, no sacks allowed by the veteran offensive line, and that despite the fact their starting left tackle missed the game because of a suspension. Darian Miller, he is back for the Wildcats in this one. I like Kentucky in this game because, Mark Stoops here in his second year with rebuilding the program in Lexington. There is no gimme games for Kentucky. It's not like, hey, we've got a MAC team coming in. We'll overlook them. Maybe if you're Auburn, maybe if you're Alabama, you overlook teams like that. You ain't overlooking the Ohio Bobcats. Now, Ohio, not exactly a great performance. Turnover, marred performance last week, needing a last-second field goal to emerge with the win at Kent. I think it was a 17-16 or 17-14 final in that contest. Lost 4 fumbles in that game. I mean, they dominated on the stat sheet. 495 total yards versus just 224 or 295 for Kent. But again, turnovers marred their performance. Now, I just told you Kentucky, there's no gimme games, okay? So I don't think Kentucky overlooks Ohio here. But does Ohio perchance not get quite as motivated playing at Kentucky today with a third consecutive road game at Marshall, a team that is expected to run the table next week on the docket? That is the bigger game in my way of looking at this contest for the Ohio Bobcats. Wildcats have covered 5 straight games over the years against MAC opponents. Their redshirt sophomore quarterback, Patrick Tiles, 20 for 29 last week in the season opener, 377 yards. One of the reasons I like Kentucky, they've got 8 starters back on defense. One of the reasons I don't like Kentucky as much today, and the reason I didn't use them as my best bet, they've got a deep running back core, okay? But the guy that I thought was going to stand out for them, and he did last week in an all too brief appearance, was a former Nebraska guy who transferred to Kentucky, a guy by the name of Braylon Hurd. He had 2 touches last week against Tennessee Martin. Now, granted, it's Tennessee Martin. One went for 74 yards and a touchdown, and another one went for 43 yards and a touchdown. He sprained his ankle. He may not play today. That bothered me. It was a little bit of a red flag here. So I'm going to go with Kentucky still, though. Here's the free pick, and I'm going to lay the 13 points with them. And I just think that they are the better team here today. And again, I think that in year 2 of the rebuilding program, every game and every potential win is huge for the Wildcats, and I say they get one here. Third game on the docket goes at noon Eastern time. Missouri, a 3.5-point favorite at Toledo. Could this be a trap? I'm telling you up front, it could be, guys. Listen, not like Missouri played that well, beating, South Dakota State at home last week, 38-18. And they only led by 3 points early in the third quarter in that contest. The sidebar to this particular game is that this is Gary Pinkel's return to Toledo, where he coached the Rockets, starting his coaching career for like a 10-year period, starting back in 1991. Missouri beat Toledo at home last year, 38-23, but it was a better Missouri team. Now, Missouri's quarterback this year is Matt Mock, who, of course, went 4-1 as a starter last year when Mizzou's quarterback, whose name escapes me at the moment from a season ago, was injured. So he certainly has experience, and it's also a return home for him because he started in college in high school about 75 miles south of Toledo. In fact, he was Mr. Ohio, or Ohio's Mr. Football. Back in 2011 when he was playing high school ball. Toledo's coming off 52-20 win over a little cupcake by the name of New Hampshire. They've got a former Alabama transfer as their quarterback, Philip Eli, who threw for 337 yards, going 24 for 34 with 4 touchdowns. But again, it was against New Hampshire. Now, Toledo, of course, has the benefit of playing at home in this particular contest. Rockets did have 666 total yards in that game, but, they were trailing New Hampshire 14-3 in the second quarter. Missouri has covered 9 of its last 12 playing outside of conference play. They're on a 7-2 ATS run as a road favorite. Meanwhile, Toledo has only been a home dog 4 times, dating back to the 2010 season, and the Rockets have only covered once in that particular spot. One of the reasons that I want to go against Toledo today is that 2 of their 2 starting cornerbacks are both out. The guy who was hurt last week, Cameron Cole, and the guy who was projected to be a starter in spring practice. Last name is Norrells, I believe. He has been sidelined since like July. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay the 3.5 points with Missouri. I think if that's a game that you're going to bet and you have a 3.5 point line, you absolutely have to buy down the 0.5 point to 3 in that contest and lay it with the Tigers. So Missouri is one free pick. Another free pick is your contests on Utah and Kentucky, a couple of home favorites. Also, I'd look briefly at the Temple-Navy game. I think it's a real difficult game to actually handicap for a side. People point out that Temple had great success last year stopping Army's triple option attack, but anyone who thinks that Army's triple option is nearly as good as Navy's is just fooling themselves. Navy, of course, played its heart out last week in Baltimore, giving Ohio State all it can handle before failing. Temple, of course, went to that bizarre game in Nashville 2 Thursdays ago that was rain and lightning delayed and just absolutely kicked Vanderbilt's butts 37-7. In fact, I gave you Temple as a free pick that day. But listen, who said Vanderbilt was good, okay? I look at this contest, and I think instead of looking at the side, I think the way to go is to play this game over the total of 58.5 points. I do not believe that Temple will be able to stop Navy's ground game. This is an inexperienced Temple defense that has no pass rush, okay? It's a green unit. I don't think they stop the ground game of Navy. At the same time, I don't think Navy, after playing its heart out against Ohio State, is going to be able to stop Temple's dynamic quarterback, P.J. Walker. He showed what a up-and-coming story was when he took over the starting job with the final 8 games last season. He had a nice game to start the season despite the inclement weather and the poor field conditions at Vandy 2 Thursdays ago. So I'm looking at 58.5 points, and I think you got to play this game over the posted price. So those are your selections. Good luck to you guys, and I will catch you again on Sunday when we do this one more time with a little thing called the NFL. Good luck, guys. Talk to you then.